So here I am, making an iceberg video about 3 years after it got old for a game series whose last entry is nearing a 10-year anniversary. But hey, the community's still going strong, maybe there's even new fans popping up. If you don't know, an iceberg chart is just a chart of various facts about any certain topic, and the lower it is on the iceberg, the more obscure or unknown the information is. This iceberg is dedicated to the inFamous franchise, a video game series with some other stuff sprinkled in between. We'll get to that. So I expect you to have at least some basic understanding about the games and their lore. Otherwise, spoiler alert for all things inFamous, I guess. I should mention I am using the iceberg of user 12345, and they made it in collaboration with Arceus2409. This was posted onto the inFamous subreddit, but I will be adding, removing, combining stuff together. I just used it as a pure base. So yeah, let's start with the first level, the tip of the iceberg. Karma. Okay, well we all know this one. The player can choose how they will play through the story of these games, either making choices that are considered good, such as helping the innocent and sparing the guilty, or bad, like being selfish and just cruel to anyone who opposes you. This would then change how your character acted, how they looked, how their powers looked, and what kind of powers they'd have, and eventually the ending of the game. inFamous Festival of Blood and inFamous First Light are the only entries in the game that do not have a karma option. In the first two games, the official canon timeline is the one where Cole is good, aka a hero, which is kinda ironic since the highest evil level in the game is called inFamous, which is the title of the game. Cole's Legacy and Cole's Jacket. I just combined these two, and I will combine plenty more because they're basically the same topic and one clearly segues into another. There exists a DLC for Second Son titled Cole's Legacy. It was originally a pre-order bonus, or if you bought the special edition depending on where you're from. Then it became available to anyone for €4.99 or 3.99 quid, I don't know, for dollars. And it was made completely free on July 20th, 2022, and that's pretty much the price it deserves. It's just a follow the marks mission with very poor explanations about how Conduit survived after the second game, and a fan service cameo of Zeke. And at the end you get Cole's Jacket, and it does not look good on Delsin at all. It even looks buggy in some cutscenes. It kind of looks okay with the concrete power because it's also kind of yellow, but I don't know, I guess maybe it's just me. Easter eggs and references. All of these games are absolutely plagued with Easter eggs and references to other popular video games and movies, etc, etc. I'm just gonna leave this all in this one entry, and I'm gonna show some obvious ones, like there's tons and tons and tons of references to Sly Cooper. There's references to other PlayStation games. Even Delsin's ringtone is just Sly Cooper's Thieves in Time theme song. And Fetch's ringtone is just the inFamous soundtrack. So yeah, there's tons of videos that just go through all of these Easter eggs, and if you want to go through all of them, you can go watch that video. But basically all this iceberg just had like a bunch of them strewn around, and I don't know, it kind of felt pointless for me to be just talking about these Easter eggs again, you know, when videos have been made 7 years ago. UGC. In inFamous 2, a feature called UGC, standing for User Generated Content, was introduced, and it was basically a mission creation tool, allowing any player who owned the game to design any kind of mission and add it to the map to be played by anyone. Think Happy Wheels custom levels, but you were still kind of limited to the map. You could make your own structures in the map, but you couldn't start with a completely blank slate. And when Festival of Blood dropped, a cutscene option was added, basically just still images with bubble texts for dialogue, to sort of mimic the comic book-esque cutscenes of the original story, I'm guessing. As is common with most user-generated content, Most of these were, poopy ass. But there was a fun one here and there, yeah, sure. This was to extend the life of the game, which, I don't know if it helped that much. I'm really curious as to when was the last mission made. Sucker Punch did say that they will eventually have to sunset this feature and close off the UGC missions and the creator tool forever. So if you got some big nostalgia from this stuff, I'd say have a quick go before they lock the gates on it. Paper Trail. This was an ARG that was actually available a week before Second Son came out. The website firstly featured a test to see which kind of conduit powers you'd have based on your personality. Like all those bullshit quizzes your mom tried on Facebook back in the day. But when Second Son actually came out, the missions within the game and tasks on the website became intertwined. You needed to connect your PSN account to the website, and solving a puzzle on the site would unlock a mission in the game, and completing a mission in the game would unlock more stuff on the website. This slowly unraveled a story about a conduit named Celia who had the power to control, you guessed it, paper. And then on the website you slowly get a comic book about bunnies, which is symbolically her family. There's a whole tragedy to it, I'm sure you can imagine. Even though the website part was closed down in 2018, you can still just play the missions in-game, and the game would act as if you just went off and did the website stuff, and then, all the missions in the game are just instantly unlocked. You go play one after the other. It's a pretty cool idea, you do something for the ARG on the website, and then it sends it in-game, so you can then continue the story in-game. It's a pretty good idea. I would like to see it done in more video games. Lord knows it can be done better, because most of the in-game stuff is just a trailing mission, again, and some of the website stuff was actually buggy. Platinum Trophy Voice Line. If you 100% Second Son or First Light, when it happens, Delsin or Fetch will break the fourth wall and address the player, jokingly teasing that they play the game too much.
You know what, buddy? You and I have been through a lot. But I gotta tell you, officially, we're done.
Keep playing much more? I'm gonna think you're stalking me.
Controller light matches karma. This might have been hard to notice on the PS4 controller for Second Son, but the light in the front changes depending on your karma. So if you're good, it gets deeper and deeper blue, and if you're evil, then it gets a darker and darker red. Zeke's Lucky 7. One of the unlockable jackets in Second Son has the same design as Zeke's does in inFamous 2. Probably my favorite out of all of them. inFamous 2 Evil Ending was almost canon. When starting to work on Second Son, studio head Nate Fox wanted to continue the story of the inFamous universe as if the evil ending was canon, with Cole becoming the Beast and eradicating normal people and ushering in the Age of Conduits. But they've looked at the PSN trophy data for inFamous 2, and at that time, 78% of people finished the game with the good ending first. So they said, alright, these are the votes. So yeah, the fans did have a major impact on the development of this franchise. Would have been cool to see a desolate world and every enemy being a different type of conduit. Also, Cole would have been the protagonist, so I guess we only have ourselves to blame. And now we're gonna dive into the water, which is something our protagonists can do. Ha! Cole with hair. Yeah, Cole was originally planned to have hair in the first game. We'll touch on that later. And before the second game came out, Cole went through a bunch of redesigns. Here's a few pictures. One where he looked pretty different and, also had hair. And this was not approved by fans and playtesters, so fortunately we got the same Cole in both games. Leave Seattle. In Second Son, after you've at least gotten the video power and upgraded it so you have double dash and airwave, you can actually go back to the bridge that you came into Seattle on and then go back to the part with the tunnel. You can also do this with concrete. If you beat the game and you get triple lift, it's also much easier that way. But you can use either video or concrete. So yeah, you go back to the first tunnel part where you fight the criminals and Reggie and Delsin have to leave the truck. Sadly, you cannot go back to Salmon Bay to go visit your tribe, though. Also, the neon lights in the tunnel still seem to be drainable, so maybe at some point there was a plan that Delsin could come back? Comic books. The iNFamous franchise even has 2 comic book series to its name, well, technically miniseries. First, there's iNFamous from DC Comics, a 6-issue story that bridges the gap between the first and the second game, and iNFamous Post Blast, a prequel to the first game. Post Blast is a digital release, pretty sure it's free to read, and I'm sure you can sneak a look at the DC comics somewhere too. They're pretty cool, so I won't spoil any of the story bits for you, but most characters are featured and there's a really special new one, so yeah, highly recommended. PlayStation All-Stars Cole. Good and evil versions of Cole are playable in the PlayStation All-Stars game. Basically a PlayStation Smash Bros. Yeah, there's even special story bits.
Is there something I can help you with?
What are you doing here?
I'm just looking for certain people.
And if they don't want to be found?
No, I'm afraid it's too late for that. We're all going to be involved in this sooner or later.
Not me. Leave me out of it.
You're either going to help me, or I'm going to stop you. Here.
Horizontal pole charge. In an old trailer for iNFamous 2, we can see a cut feature of a horizontal charge pole. In the released game, only the vertical ones are present. This was probably cut because it just really wasn't that useful. I mean, once you get the upgraded thrusters, they help with the horizontal navigation a lot anyway. And you even get the tether later on, so it would be only useful in like a chase scene, which is exactly when we see it. So one use for a scripted chase scene seems kinda meh. Still looks cool as shit though when you see it for the first time. Mention powers. So this, I don't know what to say about this entry, but in the Second Son audio files, the ones that you can collect from that trader, there is mention of organic powers, so maybe something like, you know, probably flowers or something, wire, paper, and glass. Here's some concept art of those. Would be cool to see these in action. Cole's voice change. In the first game, Cole is voiced by Jason Cottle.
Kessler. But when the time comes, I will be ready.
And in the second game, he is voiced by Eric Layton.
Beast is coming, and I will be ready.
This was apparently done because Eric also had experience with motion capturing, so that he could voice and act physically, you know, at the same time. This was the first motion capture entry for Sucker Punch, so I guess they wanted a more experienced actor. Fun fact, Eric Layton also voices Alice from Left 4 Dead 2, and you know, probably plenty of others, but I just really fucking love Left 4 Dead 2. Space Needle is smaller after the mission. So climbing the Space Needle is one of the first missions in Second Son. And before and while you're on the mission, the Space Needle itself is actually much bigger in respect to the map. This is so it looks more appropriate as you're climbing it and while you're on top of it. And after you complete the mission, it's actually smaller. Probably, you know, to save space or processing power or whatever. Billboard call IRL. To liberate a section of Seattle from the DUP in Second Son, after reducing their influence, Delsin can start a fight at their billboard, which has a number on it. And if you call this number in real life, a voice recording of Augustine was heard.
Thank you for calling the Department of Unified Protection. Please stay on the line for an important message from our director, Brooke Augustine.
Bioterrorists. What do you think when you hear that word? Cole McGrath? The beast? Fear? Oppression? I'm here to tell you that Cole and all the other bioterrorists were once ordinary people, just like you. They didn't know that lurking within them was a sickness, a gene that would transform them into something violent and terrible, a gene that could be inside you. Bioterrorism can be stopped, but it has to start with you. Do your part for a brighter, safer world.
Brought to you by the Department of Unified Protection, here to help.
Bye.
This doesn't work anymore though, of course. Zeke voicemail. Apparently to this day, Calling Sucker Punch Studios results in Caleb Moody, the voice of Zeke, directing The Caller. In character, of course.
Hello there. Thank you for calling Sucker Punch Productions. If you know your party's extension, please enter that now. If you'd like to dial by last name, press the pound key.
Instantly infamous. In the first game, when you reach the decision to either destroy or activate the ray sphere, even if you are fully leveled to hero karma, activating it will instantly turn you infamous. To give you the black lightning, turn the sky red, and Cole will act as if he was evil all along. This sort of shows that activating the ray sphere is the most vile and despicable act, so no good deed from before even matters. X-Men similarities. There are lots and lots of the same concepts and story bits in Infamous that can compare to the X-Men franchise. First of all, the fact that, the conduits have a conduit gene, like, the mutants in X-Men have the X gene. And the plot of the second game is similar to the God Loves, Man Kills storyline, in which a strong militaristic leader is collecting superpowered individuals for experimentation, execution, exploitation, all the bad stuff. And in the movie X-Men 2 United, Stryker is also trying to weaponize the mutants, just how Bertrand wants to. And the plot of Second Son is similar to Marvel's M-Day. In that story, Scarlet Witch depowers and, with that also kills some mutants. And just like Cole caused the death of most conduits in the ending of the second game, and then we see the sort of, creepy and, conduit or mutant hating aftermath of those events. And you could also think of good Delsin as Professor X, who strives to build a world where humans and mutants coexist, and evil Delsin to Magneto, who wants to show other mutants that they are simply superior, and they should just take their rightful place as the leaders of a new age. And now we're gonna dive even deeper into the darker waters. There's less entries here actually. I really don't even have a good feeling on what entries should be where anyway, because I've been with this franchise for so long I honestly can't tell what's obscure or not. Cole in Street Fighter X Tekken. Cole also appears in Street Fighter X Tekken. Never played this game, I was always more a Tekken guy than SF. Not sure what else to say, so I'll read his really vague bio from the game. In a flash, Cole became a man with the power to wield electricity. Able to fire electric-based attacks from his hands, this hero is shrouded in a tempest of electricity and can mow down anyone who opposes him. It's accurate. Kinda. Cole Wannabe. If you play Second Son on Evil Karma, sometimes a civilian can yell to Delsin, Cole Wannabe. But this kinda doesn't make sense since Cole is regarded as a hero in this universe and Evil Delsin clearly isn't trying to help anyone. It would make more sense for people to be calling him that in the early stages of the good story, but Angelic/demonic sounds. In the first and second game, when Cole becomes more heroic, there's a sort of angelic choir sound to his transformation. Well, in the first game it's just lightning. Lame. And when he becomes more evil, there's a sort of demonic hiss, whispering the promise of power. There's lots of other biblical imagery, so yeah, take it as you wish. Theory. Second Son came out a year too soon. This is actually just stated as fact on the Infamous wiki, but I couldn't find any source to back any of this up, so I'll just say it as a theory since it's actually a solid one. It claims that the development of this game was cut short by a whole year. Apparently, the delay of the Order 1886 caused Sony to order Second Son to be moved from a second wave title to the launch title to compensate for a lack of games in the lineup, even though Second Son dropped a few months after the PS4. This explains why the game's plot seems to, not be there. I mean, seriously, I thought that, you know, the Reggie's death was gonna be like the half point of the game, but no, like the next mission is the final one. And the concrete power, which you get after beating the story, doesn't have any sort of karmic option to subdue or execute, or it doesn't even have a karma bomb. And again, allegedly, it was revealed that Cole was intended to make an appearance in some fashion, but Eric Layton, the voice actor, was filming American Sniper at the time, and instead of that, allegedly, we got only Cole's legacy. And again, allegedly, in 2016, Troy Baker stated in an interview at E3 2016 that much of the script hadn't been written by the time motion and facial capture had started, leading to the actors having to improvise many lines and actions on the spot. This is why the subtitles and the dialogue of the game often don't match up. So if this is true, it's kind of like easy to believe because the game really just feels unfinished. And if this game did have a year or maybe even 2 years in the cooker, this would be an S-tier franchise right now, up there with Uncharted and God of War. I'm sure of it. iNFamous Anarchy and iNFamous Precinct Assault. These are two spin-off web games that were released to promote the first game. Anarchy was developed for Facebook, so imagine your basic town management game on Facebook. Yep. And Precinct Assault is a short 2D platformer where you play as Cole, defending the precinct from a Reaper assault. I played this one a lot when I was a kid while I was saving for my PS3. I replayed it to get this footage. I shouldn't have. It's way more dull than I remember. The Beast and Dr. Manhattan comparisons. Similarly to comparing the X-Men and Conduits, the Beast/John White bears some similarity to the DC character Dr. Manhattan. They're both seen as this nigh omnipotent power that can threaten all of humanity, yet they have this reasonable soft side to them. They both were torn apart and had to pull themselves back together. So yeah, I can see that. I don't know why this was this low, but again, I don't know, all this is just mixed up to me. Telepathy powers. Not sure if this one is just meant to reference Alden, but my best guess is that it's meant to point out how weird it is that in the first game, Cole can like read the residual neuroelectric energy in a person's brain to see their final moments. And that's used only in the first game for like 2 main missions and then the secret package side missions. And after that, it is never used again. In the second game, the random event side missions are then chalked up to Cole either listening in on a walkie-talkie conversation or just finding a picture on the guy. The power was probably removed because it would just seem kind of stupid that Cole wouldn't just, constantly use it on like dead militia soldiers to locate Bertrand, or on the corrupted to like find out what's going on, or like just whatever. Telepathy would be OP. Boat time. Remember going back to the Salmon Bay area? Well, if you use your video power, and if you try hard enough, it's kind of tricky to get there. There's some steps to it, plenty of tutorials for that. You can reach this random low poly boat, and on it there's just 2 words: boat time. It's funny and yet creepy in a strange way. Probably some sort of modeling test, or I don't know, something. The Beast activated Augustine's powers. So this is, I'd rather call this a theory again, because this is never explicitly confirmed, and it's all kept really vague in Augustine's cutscene, but basically she was part of the army, and after the events of the first game and the comics, she was deployed to a city area to basically fight conduits that were popping up, and then eventually the Beast came by, so that's the big red conduit, and all she says is, "Some conduits had the power to turn others into conduits." We know that's true, but also the Beast killed all normal people as well. So I don't know how her and Celia would be threatened by normal people if they'd all be dead. And even if there would be some stray survivors, I'm guessing they'd be half dead from the plague anyway. Just another plot inconsistency on a big pile of them, I'm afraid. Alternate evil ending. There is actually a different way to end Second Son on Evil Karma. It's not that different, don't get too excited. So as long as you finish on Evil Karma but you don't kill Hank, like the bald smoke dude, Delsin will still get like cast out of the tribe by Betty, but he won't like, you know, murk them all. So that's all. The cutscene then just ends on Betty slamming the door on Delsin, and the game's then over. There's no cutscene where he, you know, there's a nuke on them. Alright, so the bottom of this iceberg was either these crackpot theories that were just like, sheesh. And the other part was beta concepts and content of the first game. Much better, let's just talk about that. So the original working title was True Hero, what the Max Good Karma in Second Son is called. They were apparently still waiting for a legal clearance for inFamous and had a backup trailer ready in case it didn't go through, but it was approved in time. And in this early version, the game had a much more Silver Age of comics vibe. To explain briefly, this was the time period when comics were much more family friendly, since the media started linking comic books to like juvenile criminal offenses. So that was the age of goofy gadgets, heroes making sure they follow even the most minuscule rules, and the crazed sadistic fucks that we today know the Joker and the others are. Back then they were just like little goofy nerd do-gooders who wanted to like ruin someone's picnic or like litter too much or some shit. So that is very, very different from the gritty and cruel look of the game we have now, based on the later works like Batman and DMZ. They even did the whole change into your costume or CV clothes in phone booths type of shit. And the gameplay was vastly different too. You'd basically have to manage your city, customizing buildings and making new types of shops to keep citizens happy, sort of like being a mayor in Animal Crossing. That is so hard to grasp. Like, I've been reading this for over 3 days now, and I still don't believe it. Of course, then we got the action-adventure story type model that we have now. The early concepts of Cole had him in a tank top and long hair, and the development nickname for him was Gearwolf. And now this might be the silliest, goofiest part yet. The fucking civilians were gonna speak gibberish and just show emotes in clouds. You know, like the fucking Sims.
Bam! Target topic.
Voila, cool.
What is hell? Oh.
They also had character customization, which also seems to me like there was gonna be some sort of multiplayer feature, but they don't mention that, so yeah, I'm not gonna say it. Cole, or Gearwolf, now I guess, originally had telekinetic powers, and whenever the player would take aim, he'd simply draw an object from the environment to use as a weapon. Signs, hubcaps, anything stiff enough to hurt. We also had a fucking motorcycle which could totally pull tricks. I mean, goddamn. They also experimented with him having the option to skate, basically conjuring something into a hoverboard. So yeah, what an interesting development cycle. I mean, imagine being in the alternate universe where the game True Hero is the PlayStation's competitor to Animal Crossing. Yeah, and that's really hard to believe. So that's gonna be it. It's all I could find. I thought I could dig up some more stuff, but then it felt like it either wasn't worth it or I couldn't find it anyway. So yeah. Hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something new. I might make more inFamous content. I got some ideas while making this video. But again, it makes me very happy that you chose to watch my content in this sea of options. So instead of telling you to subscribe now, I'd rather you click on my channel and watch some of my other videos that aren't related to inFamous, and if you like those, then subscribe. But if you just leave a comment saying what you think, or correct me, or I don't know, you want to add something else, or just leave a like, it really goes a long way. So yeah, thanks again, have a good day, and take care.